It's time for speed dating, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go sign up on the link. Hey, Facebook, it's time for another free speed dating. Join me now, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go sign up at the link in my Facebook status, and maybe you'll see me wearing my fun Ernie hat.
Don't forget. Ravneet!
I popped in, but I popped back.
Of course.
Ravneet, you're dating today? I go on one date sometimes. Just one. Only when I'm co-hosting.
It's all starting. This is like the opening mingling room.
So right now...
You got it, Nicole.
It's the after party. You should be here.
You do.
It's the after party. You should be here. I told you. Okay, the after party's still going on. There's like 7 people in there. And it's fun conversation, but I'm just like, I'm too tired. I just closed. I didn't even like say goodbye. And that's what I'm like at parties. I don't want to be like, okay, bye. Because then if you say goodbye, everybody has to be like, oh, don't go. And I'm like, no, it's just a thing. So I just liked walking out. Like, anyways, my friend Ben used to just walk out of bars. We'd be like, where'd Ben go? He's just gone. Anyways, fun times. So that went from like, 7 p.m.? So it's like 4 hours. Good times. You guys got to come next Wednesday or Thursday or both. It's a great way to meet people. And so what did I do this morning? Again, my phone rang at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I was like, I tried to get back to sleep. I woke up at 7, and then I basically slept till like 11 a.m., which I can't keep doing. And then, I don't know what I was doing until like 2 o'clock. I went upstairs to eat. And then I set up to record the audio book around 2 or 3. And then Charles called. And I'm like, so I got to talk to him, and we talked about how his websites are going, and my websites are going, and all of this. And he's like, yeah, you come by. He said, I've been thinking all week I should call Josh. I'm like, cool. So he said I can come by his office tomorrow and see him. But that delayed me from doing the book. So finally, I think I went up for dinner, and then I said I'm going to work on the book after. No, I worked on the book beforehand. And then my mom was making dinner, so it was making a bit of noise. So I'm like, all right, I'll just work on it later. But I got a couple of days done. So at least I'm on a roll with the Christian benediction book. And yesterday I was trying to pronounce, I said just the main or something. And then they said the pronunciation's not right. So I looked it up and it's like, no, it's Gethsemane or something. So I'm Jewish. That's the problem. One girl in the speed dating said she speaks French. I'm like, where'd you learn that? She's like, French immersion, whatever. But I suspected maybe she goes to Glendon, and eventually she's like, I'm taking neuropsychology at a school called Glendon. I'm like, I went to Glendon. I took psych there. Like Tim Moore's the counselor, like the head of it now. She's like, yeah. Like he was my professor. So that's made me so jealous. But she said, yeah, she wishes she was on campus now because it's so beautiful, but it's remote right now. And I'm like, Can you imagine if I was at Glendon and I was going to do it remotely for a year? Wow. I mean, when I was there, the internet didn't exist. But still, wow. I would have missed that time. So, I don't know. I guess you just got to appreciate every day. Yeah. And here's the answers to last night's question. Do you own a .com domain with your name? Kiki says, I do, but I didn't make a website yet, so I just have my domain name sitting there. Here's a tip. If you just have a domain name, you can direct it to anywhere. So it could direct to your Instagram or whatever you want. Drop of Color says nope. Yeah, I guess this is more of a yes or no question, eh? Rebecca says no. Okay. And then Going Boldly says, I absolutely do. Well, yeah, he's the guy I met at the Podfest thing in Orlando. And he's like, I bet podcasters have their domains and everything. Anyways, this should have been a poll. Or not a question at all, because who cares? By the way, I just got a reminder that it's Earth Day, because I was looking at the story of Mercedes, who I met tonight at the speed dating. She's an actress and a singer and all this. And she was just saying, Happy Earth Day. We got to appreciate our Earth. And it reminded me, I still am a big environmentalist, but when I was younger, oh my God, for like 20 years there, I was obsessed with it. Like it ruined my life. Like I was always like giving idlers my brochures that I made, and they would chase me down the street and try to beat me up. And, I would when the middle gen would pick me up at the park and ride, I would be so upset seeing all the cars idling that I would just be upset for hours. She's like, I can't live like this. And God, it just And then the first gen, when we wanted to go to LA, she was like, you can't, give your flyers to idlers. We're going to get shot. And then I spent all this time like counting the light bulbs at my work, asking them to replace. I wasted so much time and energy and lost relationships over my anxiety about the environment. Oh my gosh, there was this girl. Actually, this is a story I told on the radio once, and it's kind of a dirty story. So maybe I'll just find that link and put it on YouTube for you. But when I found out this girl drove a BMW, I'm like, oh, I can't date her. Oh, and this other girl in Orlando, years and years ago, she was like a Republican, and she's like, oh, it's so funny, like if you lived closer, I'd have a Democrat boyfriend. And then I think she drove a BMW too, and I'm like, oh, I can't date her. She doesn't care about the environment. Who cares? She was rich. She was beautiful. What was I doing? I could have had a Jewish wife and babies now. And now the irony is, I'm not conservative. I just think what liberalism is has changed, and it's not. Either I've gotten like smarter or more aware of things, or things have really changed to not be logical anymore. But we can talk about this if I live stream and do my YouTube show about, if you want to know my thoughts about the news, because I'd love to be able to explain things to you, because I feel like, I took psychology, I know how the mind works, I'm really good at sort of, logical thinking and reading words and reading the news and figuring out where the bias is and what they're leaving out and what they're trying to do. Because I think CNN used to be news. I feel like newspapers used to be sort of news, but now everything is so obviously biased and just trying to push an agenda that you can't, like, unless you're really looking for it and you know what you're looking for, you might be like, oh, this is the news, but not realize that, no, you're not being told what's actually happening. Anyways, I guess here's the question of the day. What did you do for Earth Day? Did you celebrate Earth Day? Are you an environmentalist? Like, what's going on with the world in your world? Okay, there's your question. And here's a good night message to Facebook. I just gave a summary of my day in my Instagram story, so you'll have to go check it there if you want to know what I did today. But anyways, good night, Facebook. Okay, there's just one other thought I wanted to just mention while it's still in my head before I forget it. And it's funny because I was thinking 5 minutes ago, I was like, I should mention that. Nah, I'll remember it. And now it's already faded. I can't remember what I wanted to say. But part of it was this guy Sam in the chat, like in the after party, was talking about this fun bar on Church Street called Storm Crow or something. And he's like, it's so cool. And I'm like, I look up on the map. I'm like, where is this? What? I've never heard of this. Is it new? Like, no, it's really old. I'm like, really old. And I look at it and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not, I mean, well, here's the thing. I'm like, my old boss used to own a restaurant in that, and we had work parties in it, and I'm thinking that wasn't long ago, but no, I haven't been at that job for like 6 years, so I guess it is a while since I've been on Church Street. And then they're like, yeah, if anybody comes to Toronto, oh yeah, he was saying, when the COVID's over, we're all gonna have to get together and go for like to a pub and get drunk. And we had been talking about Ottawa for a while, because I guess Sam's been looking at my Instagram. He was saying, it looks like, you're talking about Toronto? Because I was saying I knew this girl, Cindy, that was in the chat. I met her in Toronto, and they're like, but aren't you in Ottawa? Like, based on thing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in Ottawa now. And he used to work at the McDonald's in Ottawa. Anyways, so then they were saying, okay, we'll have to go to Ottawa to go to the bar. And Sam's like, no, Josh is just one person. We're all in Toronto. He can come here. I'm like, okay. And then I was just thinking, like, am I too old to go to bars? Like, I still like to go to, I still picture myself going to the bathroom in a bar, like washing my hands, like doing things you would do in a bar. That's not all you do in a bar, but I just, it's it's part of the experience. I'm like, and then I'm thinking, well, Mark Wahlberg is 49. Would he go to a bar? Anyway, so then I mentioned to them, I asked them, like, hey, I've been thinking about this scenario. Like, say somebody's like 14 or something, but then they're in a coma for 30 years and they wake up and they're in their 40s. Would they still be like a teenager in their head, or because their body is older, would they, feel like a middle-aged person? They're like, no, like if somebody wakes up and they're like 30, like watch the movie 13 going on 30. I'm like, well, that's not a real situation, first of all. And then 30, I'm like, well, no, because I'm thinking like, hey kids, like you'd still want to go to a bar at 30 for sure. They don't understand what it's like to get older. And I'm just wondering, I don't know, maybe if I hang out with older people, like I picture like if I move to Celebration, Florida or something, and there's other grown-ups and stuff, we might go dancing and stuff. I don't know, what am I talking about? I just want to live like Jeff Bezos. I want to like be able to travel and go anywhere and just run my own world. That's what I'm going to do. I was saying to Charles, it's time to make $1 billion. So I'm going to work on that tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes. Hey, Facebook, just wanted to say a little good night to you. I just gave my daily summary in my Instagram story, and that gets shared to my Facebook page now, so you can go follow me there if you want. Otherwise, this might be enough Josh for today.